A lot of people talk about engagement like it is the whole game, but if your first steps are messy, engagement can only do so much. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 systems I'll focus on in a growing faith community this year. And I'm going to show you the order to build them in so you don't waste time fixing the wrong things first. Hello, I'm Miracle, and if you lead a faith community, you know how this goes. A new person visits on Sunday. Someone welcomes them, maybe they fill out a card, maybe they don't. By the time Monday comes, the moment is already fading, and your team is trying to remember names, send messages, update records, answer inboxes, and keep the ministry moving without dropping anything. And then people say, we just need more engagement. Sometimes that is true, but a lot of times the real issue is a system under it. So here is the big idea for this video. By the end, you will know the 5 systems I'll build into a growing faith community, which one to build first in your situation, and the first 3 moves to make in the next 90 days. I'm not talking about adding a bunch of complicated stuff. I'm talking about a simple, repeatable structure that helps people move from first contact to real connection without your team carrying everything in their heads. That hidden chaos is what wears people out, not the ministry itself, the part around it that no one actually sees. And I'll mention Churchable later as one of the examples on how you can set this up, but I want to give you the framework first. Because the framework matters more than the tool. And if you're already thinking, we don't have time for a 90-day plan, I get that too. But I'm going to keep this practical and small enough to start, even if your team is stretched thin. So here are the 5 systems: discovery, onboarding, engagement, leadership development, and administration. And let me keep each one simple. Discovery is how people find you and take the first step. That could be a visitor page, an RSVP link, a first-time guest form, a social post, or just a clear way for someone to say, I want to know more. If discovery is healthy, people don't have to guess what to do next. Onboarding is what happens right after the first years. That's where a visitor becomes a connected person. Their name gets captured, a message goes out, the next step gets explained. They know exactly what happens after they've shown up. If onboarding is weak, people slip away quickly. Engagement is how people stay active. They join groups, attend events, give, reply to messages, and keep showing up. A lot of communities try to fix retention by pushing harder here. That helps a little bit, but only if the first 2 systems are already working. Leadership development is how you stop doing everything by yourself. This is a pathway that turns willing helpers into capable leaders. Not random volunteering, but real development. That means training, ownership, follow-up, and clear next steps for the people who already grow. And administration is the machine behind all of it. Schedules, people records, events, inboxes, giving, tax, budgets, reports. If administration is messy, everything else feels heavier than it should. And here's the part people usually miss. Discovery brings people in. Onboarding keeps the leak from starting. Engagement deepens the connection. Leadership development multiplies ministry. Administration keeps the whole thing from becoming exhausting. And if you want a simple picture, think about it like a house. Discovery is the front door. Onboarding is the hallway. Engagement is the living room. Leadership development is where people learn to carry responsibilities. Administration is the wiring and plumbing. You can have a nice paint, but if the wiring is bad, the house keeps breaking. And this shows up in different ways depending on the kind of faith community you lead. A small ministry might need a very simple vision of all 5. A church with a lot of volunteers might need a cleaner onboarding path and a more stable admin setup. A growing team may need a stronger leadership development so everything doesn't stay stuck on same people. So the question is not whether these systems matter. The question is which one is carrying the most weight right now. This is where people usually freeze. They look at 5 systems and think, okay, all this matters, so where do I actually start from? That's a fair question, and if you start in the wrong place, you can spend a lot of time building something that looks good but doesn't really move the community forward. So here's a simple rule I will use. Pick the system with the highest impact and the lowest friction. That's it. Let me unpack that because simple doesn't always mean obvious. Impact means if this works, will it actually help people move? Will it reduce drop-off? Will it cut admin stress? Will it help leaders grow? Will it make the next step clearer? Friction means how hard is it to start right now with your current team, with your current tools, and the current level of chaos you have. If a system has high impact but crazy high friction, it may need to wait a little. If a system has low friction but almost no impact, it might feel productive, but it won't change much. You want the ones that sit right in the sweet spot. Let me give you a quick example. Say you're leading a hybrid faith community with 250 people. You already have visitors coming in, you already have giving, but your follow-up is all over the place. People visit, then nobody knows if they got a message. Some names are in the spreadsheet, some are in the inbox, some are in someone else's memory, which usually the worst database on earth. In that case, onboarding is probably the first system. Why? Because the leak is already happening. You do not need a better engagement plan if people aren't making through the first step. Now, let me apply the rule another way. If discovery is weak, but people are already finding you through word of mouth, onboarding may still matter more first. If onboarding is fine but volunteers are getting tired, then leadership development or administration may be the first thing to fix. If your records are a mess and no one can see who is doing what, administration may be the first move because it clears the floor for everything else. So I usually ask 4 questions. Where is the biggest leak? What will give you the fastest visible win? What can our team actually handle right now? What connects cleanly to the next system after this one? And if you want a shorter version, ask this. Where will one small fix make the next 6 months easier? That question cuts through a lot of noise. Now, let's make the next 90 days roadmap real, because this is where the framework turns into something you can actually see. Let's say you choose onboarding first. That's the example I'm going to use because for a lot of growing faith communities, that's the leak. And if you keep losing people after the first contact, you do not need 100 features. You need a clear path. So start with week 1, map the flow. Write down right now what happens from the moment someone visits or fills out a form to the moment they get their first next step. Don't fix anything yet. Just map it out. Who gets the name? Where does it go? Who follows up? What message is sent? What happens if no one replies? That first map usually makes the problem obvious pretty fast, and honestly, that alone can be a relief because now the issue is visible. A lot of teams usually skip this part. They are trying new tactics without ever drawing the actual path. Week 2 is where you build the smallest useful communication piece. That is the most important moment in the whole 90 days. Usually it's just one clear follow-up message, not a giant sequence. Just one message that says, "We saw you, here's what happens next." That message should do 3 things. It should thank them, it should tell them one next step, it should point them to a person or place. That's the minimum useful version. A quick example could sound like this. Thanks for visiting us. We are glad you're here. If you'd like to take the next step, reply or tap this link and we'll get you connected. Simple, human, and clear. And yes, this can live in searchable or in an email, or in a basic message flow, or even in a manual process at first. The point is not the software. The point is that no one should be guessing what happens after a guest shows up. Week 3 is about ownership. Who owns this flow? If no one owns it, everything becomes everyone's problem, and then it becomes nobody's job. At this stage, give one person responsibility for the onboarding path. 1, not 5 people. Week 4 to 6 are about tightening the handoff. This is where a lot of teams miss the real win. They think onboarding is just the message. Actually, the handoff matters just as much. A person fills out a form that should trigger a next action. Maybe a staff member gets a notification, maybe a volunteer gets a task, maybe a follow-up call gets scheduled, maybe the next person gets added to the group invite. That is the part that starts closing the loop. And if you're ready, this is also where a very light automation can help. Here's a tiny example. Someone registers for a newcomer lunch. That registration tags them as a guest, sends a thank you note, and creates a task for the follow-up owner. That's enough. You do not need a giant automation maze. In my experience, teams get stuck when they try to automate everything at once. They spend all their energy fighting the two and never fix the actual ministry problem. So start with one flow, one trigger, one message, one task. Week 7 to 9 are for consistency. This is where you check whether the system works the same way every time. If you send a follow-up to one of your guests and the next person gets forgotten, the system is too dependent on memory. So now you look for gaps. Missing names, delayed messages, uneven responses, loose handoff. This is usually a great place to pause and look at the process on paper again. And if you're building this with a small team, save this section and come back to it when you've mapped out the flow. Week 10 to week 12 are about measurement and cleanup. At this point, you should be able to answer a few questions without guessing. How many visitors gets a follow-up? How many responded? How many took the next step? How long did it take before someone reached out? That tells you if the system is actually working. And that's the point of the 90 days, not perfection, but progress you can measure. If the first attempt feels a little messy, that doesn't usually mean the system is wrong. It usually means you are finally seeing the real shape of your ministry. And that's normal because most systems improve in the second round, not the first. Now, if onboarding isn't your first system, the same pattern still applies. If discovery is first, map it, build the smallest useful part, assign an owner, connect the handoff, then measure the response. If administration is first, do the same thing. Map it, simplify it, assign it, connect it, measure it. The order changes, the pattern stays the same. That's how to stop being overwhelmed. You build one clean lane first, then move to the next one. A lot of faith communities don't fail because they lack vision. They fail because no one owns follow-through. So here's the simplest way to think about ownership. Every system needs one person responsible for it. That person may not do every task, but they own the outcome. And if you're a solo pastor, that owner might be you for the first 30 days. And if you have a small staff, it may be one staff member plus one volunteer lead. If you have a volunteer-heavy setup, the owner can still be a volunteer, but they need a clear lane and a small time commitment. And here's a practical script you can use when asking someone to own this space. Would you be willing to own this for the next 90 days? I'm not asking you to do everything. I'm asking you to keep the flow moving, check in once a week, and tell us when something gets stuck. That's much better than saying, can you help with follow-up sometimes? Because that kind of ask usually get a polite yes and a vague no. And if you're wondering about burnout volunteers, keep the commitment small. For a simple onboarding owner, maybe it is 15 minutes twice a week. For a communication helper, maybe it is 20 minutes to send or check messages. For data and admin helper, maybe it is 30 minutes cleanup block. Those are just starting points, not hard rules. The size of the job should match the size of the flow. A simple role split can actually help too. The owner keeps the flow moving and fixes breakdown. The assistant handles the actual message or task. The leader checks the outcome once a month. That's enough to start. And if you're thinking, we don't have enough people, that is okay. Start with the owner and one repeatable task. That's better than 3 people half owning the same thing. Measurement doesn't have to be heavy. It just has to be honest. For onboarding, I will track 3 things. First, follow-up completion rate. Out of the people who should get a response, how many actually got one? That tells you if the system is being used. Second, response rate. How many people replied, clicked, or took the next step? That tells you if the message is clear. Third, time to first contact. How long does it take between the first visit and the first meaningful follow-up? That tells you if people are being cared for while the moment is still fresh. You don't need 20 metrics, you really don't. If you track too much, no one looks at it, then the data just sits there. A simple rule I like is this: if a metric doesn't change what you do next, don't track it yet. So what should you look for in the first 30 days? You want to see consistency first. That means the follow-up is happening more often than before. You want to see speed. The response should not be sitting there for days, and you want to see one sign of life from the person receiving the message, a reply, a click, a registration. You just want to see something. By day 90, you're looking for something stronger. You should be able to say our first-time guest follow-up is happening the same way every time, and we can actually see the numbers. I want you to picture a simple dashboard in your head. One line says guest follow-up completed. Another says average time to first contact. Another says next step responses. That's enough to tell you whether the lane is healthy. And if you're using a system like Churchable or even a simple spreadsheet connected to your current tools, these numbers don't have to be hard to find. The main thing is that they are visible, and if you can see them, you can improve them. A lot of leaders, when they hear KPI, they think it sounds corporate. I don't think of it that way. I think of it like a dashboard in the car. You are not staring at the dashboard because you love dashboards. You are checking it because you want to know if the car is actually moving well. Same idea here. So if you remember nothing else, remember this: small number of metrics, clear owner, regular review. That is how measurement helps instead of becoming a burden. So here's what I want you to do next. First, pick the system with the most highest impact and lowest friction in your community. Don't overthink it, just name it. Onboarding, discovery, engagement, leadership development, and administration. Pick the one that will relieve the biggest pain fastest. Second, map the current flow in under 20 minutes. Write down the steps from the first contact to follow up to next step. If you can't draw it, you can't fix it yet. Third, assign one owner and one weekly check-in. That's it. One owner, one check-in. That's enough to start moving. At 30 days, I want you to ask one question. Is the flow more consistent than it was before? Not perfect, just more consistent. And at day 90, ask a better question. Do you have a repeatable system that people can actually use? And can we see the numbers? If yes, you've built something real. If no, now you know where the leak is. And the goal is not to make your team busier, but it is to make the right things easier. And if you want help doing this, check out Churchable using the link in the description. It is built to help faith communities bring these pieces together in one place, so you spend less time managing scattered tools and more time actually leading people. So start with the first flow, get it on paper, build the smallest useful version. That is how this becomes manageable. And if you found this video valuable and you would like to see more, just click the like, subscribe, and the notification bell below this video so you can get notified when we release more.